It's Thursday night. It's time to talk about movies. I'm your host, Vincent Didiano. With me, of course, is Eric Williams, my comedic comrade. How's it going, man?
I'm keeping you on your toes, so it's going excellently. I'm still covered in drywall and sweat and like the fear of being surrounded by a bunch of library children.
Eric, is this something that happened to you today, or is this a new Stephen King novel? I'm
really
legit confused.
I showed up and the children they want to treat me like a Christmas tree that you cover in stickers.
Okay.
So instead, I was just like, I mean, the Millville Community Library is a wonderful place. It's a safe haven for neighborhood children, but children are often loud. And yes, this is me saying this. This is me, the human amplifier.
That was an accurate statement. Yeah.
It's weird. Like, no, anyone who's worked as like a librarian that knows me in the neighborhood can attest to this. Like, everywhere I am the loudest person. I am the person that people say to use their indoor voice to as an adult when we're outside. That's something but I go into the library and people are like, "Hey, Eric, how's it going?" I'm like, "Shh, this is a quiet place." So, like, the kids were being rambunctious today, so I just showed up and I was like, "Hey, kids, this is a football. Who wants to come outside?" And my girlfriend, the librarian, was like, "Thank you." And then, like, 40 children tried to tackle me. I mean, it was actually just, like, 3 and one 15-year-old who's twice my size. But I'm sprier than I expect. So I'm covered in drywall, not from the library. That was from a gig I did earlier where I just scraped drywall off a floor and then I like swept it up. We're not making a movie about this. We're not watching a movie about this.
I hope not.
This is just what I did today. I'm explaining to you why I feel disgusting.
All right, now on to the important stuff. I'm sorry. No, Eric's been working his butt off today. He's really going at it. So
we cannot be sexy and Italian like you all the time, Vince.
I don't put that pressure on you. I don't think I do I?
You do.
I do?
You do.
I'm sorry. I was unaware of this. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, time to go over a quick... today's itinerary, of course, we're going to start out with some movie news. We're going to talk about, once again, James Gunn, as that story is continuing. And we're going to end off the news with talking about some new things going on at the Oscars. And then we're going to, middle section, we're going to talk about reboots and remakes, because that's always a discussion going on in films and whatnot.
How many weeks until we reboot that middle section?
I don't know, man. The studio hasn't gotten back to me yet. But then we're going to finish it off with our movie review of Spike Lee joint, Blackkklansmen. We're going to talk about a lot about that one. So that's
man. Oh, man.
There's a lot to talk about.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, time to kick things off with the news, talking about James Gunn, the director of both the Guardians of the Galaxy film. As we've spoken before on the podcast, he was fired by Disney after some people who he had gotten into a tussle with, verbal tussle. They decided to get back at him by digging up some stuff from his past, some very, very old tweets from when he was a different person.
From when he was still married to Jenna Fisher, right?
Oh, wait, was he married to Jenna Fisher?
I believe he was married to Jenna Fisher. I mean, people have been talking about James Gunn a lot recently, and that's what someone said. I did not do the Googles to verify.
You did not do the Googles?
No.
Shame on you, sir.
No, I didn't. I mean, I was really disappointed. I was like, James Gunn, how could you get between Pam and Jim like that? that is uncouth. That is not cool, man. Not cool.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the person we're talking about, more particularly in terms of James Gunn controversy here, is actor and former wrestler Dave Bautista, who plays Draxx the Destroyer in the Guardians of the Galaxy films. And he said in an interview recently, and I've been tweeting this out, that he said, "I will do what I'm legally obligated to do, but Guardians without James Gunn is not what I signed up for," Bautista said. "Pretty nauseating to work for someone who'd empower a smear campaign by fascist cyber Nazis." And he's referring to Disney. He's flat out saying that he finds Disney nauseating to work for.
Wait, is he calling Disney the fascist cyber Nazis, or is he calling the people that ran the smear campaign?
I believe what he's saying here is that he's calling the people who ran the smear campaign the cyber Nazis, and he's basically saying that Disney is basically backing them up by firing James Gunn. Okay,
so Draxx the Destroyer just called what's-his-face a cyber Nazi. Who's what's-his-face again?
I don't know. I forgot to look up because I don't care about those.
The awful blogger person who's an accused sex offender himself. I'm blanking on the name right now. He's one of those people that I just kind of hear and my blood pressure goes up a little bit. I'm like, oh, the sort of person who generally perpetuates dishonesty and doesn't get into arguments in good faith. What is his name? Dang it, Vincent. This is going to be the plot of the third Guardians of the Galaxy movie. They're going to be like, we need to find this guy. Are we going to destroy him? No, we're just going to figure out his name.
Yeah. Now, in this article on Deadline.com, Bautista does say that despite his disapproval of everything that's happened, his disapproval that is also shared by his fellow Guardians of the Galaxy cast members, basically the entire main cast put out a statement last week saying that they do not like what's happened and they want James Gunn back. He said, I will have more to say, but for right now, all I will say is this. James Gunn is one of the most loving, caring, good-natured people I've ever met. He's gentle and kind, cares deeply for people and animals. He's made mistakes. We all have. I'm not okay with what's happening with him. And also said that because he is under contract, he will be in the next movie, but he's not digging it. Now, this also goes further with some... this is other news involved, in fact, is that James Gunn pretty much had the script for Guardians of the Galaxy 3 ready to go, but Disney has announced that they're not going to go through with using that script. However, another thing about the story is it keeps changing very quickly. There was a rumor that at first at first Disney was like, we're not bringing him back, and then there was a rumor that they might be bringing him back. So I don't know exactly what the real deal is going to be. Hopefully, this will all be figured out soon and come to a conclusion. Once again, I have seen the tweets, the controversial tweets that James Gunn has posted, and they're not. It was just him trying to use shock humor, and they're not funny, they're not interesting, they're not creative. There's a time in his career when he was just trying to get any attention, and obviously, it didn't work. But hopefully, he can move on with his career. And we all can take a learning lesson from this.
Yeah, we can learn. We can learn, Vincent. We can Sesame Street this. we can just, we can just have the count like 1 bad taste tweet, 2 tweet in bad taste, 3 tweet in bad taste. You no longer direct Guardians now. The count just became Russian.
Yes. So we're going to move on to our next. We're going to our next story here because
we're going to keep it rolling. We're going to just keep moving along.
Oh yeah, we're going to keep it going.
Darn Skippy.
Yeah. Now this next story is now here on POVincent. We are first and foremost a movie podcast. We talk about movie news. We talk about
You mean we're not a floral design podcast?
No, we're not a floral design podcast. If you know,
what have I been doing all these weeks?
I probably get my mom on the podcast after we get to floral design.
But, you never talked to my friend Marissa, who works in floral design.
We gotta get her on the show.
She also hosts the Black Forge Open Mic the last Wednesday of the month. Yeah, right. Yeah. If you haven't met her, she's awesome. It's a fun mic.
Maybe I have met her. I feel like I don't know. We'll get back.
If you've seen a cool lady with a mandolin hanging around with Gene and me, this would probably be her.
Sounds familiar. But anyway, so again, like I said, we're first and foremost a movie podcast. We don't like to get into international politics here because
we don't.
Well, I don't because I'm politics confused.
You make good decisions.
I like the way you said it better.
I'm a personified space shuttle crash.
But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, recently, Vladimir Putin has appointed basically a Russian envoy to the U.S., ambassador, you could say. Ladies and gentlemen, our new Russian ambassador to the United States is Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal.
can you just? I mean,
I couldn't even get it out of my mouth. I don't even want to.
Can you understand? There could be a reality, reality right now is just like absurd squared, but there could be a real meeting between the U.S., Russia, and North Korea, in which the representatives are Donald Trump, Steven Seagal, and Dennis Rodman.
Celebrities have taken over, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just saying, like, this is the word. I'm not saying anything for or against. Once again, we're a movie podcast, but you gotta find it a little funny that we got a bunch of former movie, sports, and TV stars that could be coming together for a peace talk. I mean, that's like straight out of the movie. But anyways, let's get to this. Steven Seagal appointed by Russia as special envoy to the U.S. According to an article on NewYorkTimes.com, the action movie star Steven Seagal has played a former CIA agent, a hitman, and a killer of criminals. On Saturday, Russian officials tapped him for another role, special representative to improve relations between the United States and Russia.
Sad. Terrible.
The Russian Foreign Ministry announced the appointment on Facebook. Of course it did. Saying, like, I know we're live streaming on Facebook, but you're a government agency. I don't care what government. I'm just saying.
We're a movie review podcast.
Yeah, we're allowed to live stream on Facebook. It still makes me still seem legit. And I'm totally okay with governments using social media because that's the world we live in. But just the officials, a press conference. Remember press conferences? Anyway, on Facebook.
Wait, time out. Does this mean that, like, okay, so, like, Twitter is already, like, historical official, like, President Trump, again, still can't believe that's a real sentence I'm saying and not, like, the sequel, like, Sudden Death 2 plot that I'm talking about. President Trump can't delete his tweets that he makes as president of the United States. Yeah, because, like, they are official. Like,
really, I didn't know that was official.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. See, once again, this is why I stay out of politics because I don't know anything.
Like, no, like that is official, like, federal, like, like, this is so weird. I mean, reality's always weird. Things are always changing, but, like, we are in. This is basically like if Dan Harmon directed the cyberpunk dystopia. That is the reality we are in now.
Come on, Morty. We gotta get to the other dimension. Celebrities are at the peace talks, Morty. We just gotta watch the fireworks. Anyway, that was a horrible.
I don't know. Gee, Rick, I don't know. I just like when the president had a beer summit. You probably liked that too, didn't you?
I love how we're just talking about everything else but Seagal, which kind of makes me feel good. Let's talk about Steven Seagal here for a minute.
No, I want to be clear. I want to cover this. You know what the best Steven Seagal movie is, right? Like, and this is not a new opinion, but I stand by this. I stand by this, even if it is the popular opinion.
My Giant?
He was in My Giant?
He had a cameo in it, yeah.
Oh.
I'll never forget it.
Executive Decision.
Oh, yeah. Eric, do I have to ask why you think that's the best Steven Seagal movie?
Oh, no, you know. But ask me why, Vincent. But ask me why.
Eric, why?
Because they Drew Barrymore'd him. They drew, like, that was one of those advertised, like, starring Kurt Russell and Steven Seagal and John Leguizamo and Halle Berry. And then, like, 12 minutes in, Steven Seagal is like, no, it's okay. I'll shut the airlock. Click. Ah! And no more Steven Seagal in the movie, which is why it's the best Steven Seagal movie.
Oh, man. Holy crap.
I was literally talking about that at the airport earlier this week.
All right. Okay. All right. So for me, it's My Giant. For him, it's the same thing. No, I'm just kidding. Now, here's the weird thing about Steven Seagal. I watched his movies a ton when I was a kid. I loved the way he fought on screen, his style of martial arts, all that stuff. After a while, of course, like with the rest of the movie-going audiences, he just kind of wore on people because, well, he's not. Not that an action movie star needs to be a great actor, but his range is so limited. Even when he was technically playing a different character, he was the same guy. Plus, And this is the thing about Steven Seagal. The reason why he's kind of become a joke before this, is because he basically derailed his own career. As the years went on, he got bigger and bigger. He tried to take more and more control on the sets of the movie he was on, to the point where he was basically telling the director what he wanted. I can't remember which movie of his it was, but the villain in it, the actor playing the villain, was doing such a great job that they were going to have more of him in the movie, but Steven Seagal was like, I'm the star of the film. I'm the hero. There should be more of me than him. That's basically what he told. And
your Steven Seagal impression is way better than your Wick impression. Like, I just said Wick.
I was going to say Rick.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember doing a John Wick impression.
You didn't kill like a whole bunch of Russians on our way to the set tonight? Wow. Yeah. I have been tripping really hard on that orange juice I had earlier.
But anyway, going more about Steven Seagal, he's been caught in lying about his martial arts background as to who his master was. He claimed he was taught by the creator of Hapkido, the martial arts style he does practice. He claimed that he was taught by himself, but people have investigated it, and it turns out there's no way he would have been in Japan to meet this man around the time he said. He's also had allegations of being...
Are you gonna say it? Are you gonna?
He's touching women. He touched Jenny McCarthy. Jenny McCarthy years ago. He's been out. Yeah, people have accused him of touching.
I thought you were going to talk about his allegation of sex slaves.
Oh, well, there's that. I was working up to that.
You're like, well, that was the top of the mountain that we were getting
I'm working up to it, Eric. You got to start with the small stuff that people can handle. But yeah, so I mean, I can go on and on, but it turns out that Steven Seagal is a man.
I like how you started with like, oh well, he lied about his martial arts background, and also he had sex slaves. Like I feel like you just could have been like, he derailed his career with sex slaves.
The people need to know it all. Okay. Got a little Bernie there. It's got the hand movements. Like, people, we're going to give him health care? No. So yeah, no, and that's why all his movies nowadays are straight to DVD, low budget films, and aren't even. I don't think any of them are filmed here in America. They're all filmed overseas, which is not me crapping on foreign film markets or foreign movie studios. But if that's all you're doing, if you're a major movie star and that's all that you get nowadays, there's a reason for that. So yeah, Steven Seagal, I mean, everybody's laughing about this. I don't think there's anybody who's taking this very seriously. Like I said, there's an article on NewYorkTimes.com entitled Steven Seagal appointed by Russia as special envoy to U.S. Guys, go check it out. I mean, the more I think about this, the more it makes me kind of just laugh. Like, when I first saw the headline, I was like,
I mean, really, is it any surprise that, like, the Trump administration picked someone accused of... So wait, what was it, the Trump administration or Russia?
No, Russia. Trump had no hand in this. This is not American. Putin himself. Because that's another thing. Putin and Seagal have been tight for years. He goes over there all the time, and he's a legal Russian citizen. I'm not joking.
What?
They've been tight for... I'm not joking. You can look this stuff up. That's all it was. You know what it was? Steven was probably like, hey, Pootie, I'm kind of between jobs right now. So you can help me out? We make you special envoy to U.S. I knew I was the right man for the job.
I know we're getting to it later, but I want to say after seeing Blackkklansmen, I'm really, really, really excited for Spike Lee to make the movie about America right now. Like it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be amazing. I don't know who's gonna play Steven Seagal or Trump, but they'll do a really good job.
There's only one choice for Steven Seagal, Eric, and I feel like you've just insulted this man by not immediately picking him. The only choice for Steven Seagal is former cast member of Mad TV and comedian Will Sasso, who played Steven Seagal on Mad TV sketches and was awesome all the time. So,
okay,
look it up on YouTube. The clips of the old sketches are on YouTube.
By the time that Spike Lee makes the film about now, Will Sasso will have died of a heart attack.
No, he lost a lot of weight. He's in good shape. Seriously, he's in good shape.
Oh, good for him. How old is he now, though?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, see, Matt TV.
But you know, like, losing weight doesn't, like, take away the years of strain one put on their heart while they were over. I'm allowed to say this because I have, like, a congenital heart problem, so even though I look like I constantly undernourish myself, I will probably die of a heart attack before 40.
All right, Eric, keeping the show cheery. Good
Oh,
work.
that's how I always do. Check out the smile. We're all gonna die someday.
Yeah. Oh, man. Anyway, let's move on to our next story. Well, this one's going to be a pretty quick one.
I want to keep being depressing and talking about Seagal and Pootie and their I just
I
imagine.
want that to be a sitcom, Seagal and Pootie. Make that happen.
Seagal and Pootie, one teaches the other Aikido, the other fights bears or pretends to for Russia.
Anyway, moving on. So, as it comes up on the show a lot, we got to talk about the DC Extended Universe, aka the DC movies. And it's been announced recently that Supergirl is coming back to the big screen. It's been said many times that, that the DC universe is in trouble. A lot of that has to do with the fact that more and more it seems like they don't have a plan. This is the first I've heard of a Supergirl movie. I assume it's happening due to the popularity of the Supergirl TV series. So we'll see how this goes. According to an article on Variety.com, Warner Brothers and DC Entertainment are in the early stages of a Supergirl film. They have hired 22 Jump Street writer Oren Uziel? I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, my bad. Oren Uziel to pen the script, but have not found a producer yet. The character has been played by Melissa Benoist, as I just mentioned, in the Blah 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 TV series, and executive produced by Greg Berlanti. All of the I'm just going over that stuff.
But I can assume, at least I would, but like with DC, I guess there's no such thing as like logic or rationale, but that the person who plays her, whose name you just said,
Melissa
in the
Benoist.
TV show,
Yeah.
will not play her in
No. This is going to be another case of it's separate from the TV universe. Yeah, so now here's the thing about this. The TV universe has been going on a little longer than the movie universe has. And every time they bring in new characters into the movie universe, this affects the TV universe. One of the most biggest examples is one of the big characters from the Arrow show, Deathstroke, who was a main character in the first couple of seasons and was a main villain. Recently came back to the show at the end of season 5 and back.
No way.
Yeah. No, he's one of the most popular characters in the Arrowverse.
I mean, so Deathstroke. This is actually one of those weird things where Deadpool gets accused of being a ripoff of Deathstroke because they both have death in the name and Wilson in his last name.
Yes, and they have a similar power set as well. Like Deathstroke also has a healing factor.
Yes. I'm trying to remember, and I think Deathstroke did come first, but allegedly Deadpool was largely ripped off of Spider-Man, actually.
Well, I can see that in his costume, especially with the eyes going on,
and the whole mouthiness.
Yeah. Also, like I remember when I was still working at the movie theater when that movie came out, and people were coming up and they would walk by the poster, and they'd be like, "Oh, look, Spider-Man!" And I'm like, "That's not Spider-Man. You don't take your kids to see Deadpool. You take your husband or your wife or whoever when you guys want to see something crazy." But yeah, so that's happening now. I bring up the whole Deathstroke thing because when it was announced that Deathstroke would be coming into the movie universe, it was announced that the TV show was no longer allowed to use Deathstroke, and this angered a ton of fans because they loved the character so much in the TV show that now they're not allowed to use it. Now, I hope nobody got angry at Joe Manganiello because he's going to play the movie version of Deathstroke. But yeah, so this could have big effects. Now you're going to ask yourself, okay, what characters are they not going to be allowed to use on the TV show? Because, that's the reason why Superman, a big reason why Superman hasn't shown up a lot in the TV show, he's only been in a few episodes, is because we got live-action Superman in the movies. We got Henry Cavill, even though Henry Cavill's Superman has kind of been, they haven't used him properly. But anyway, so that's going on. So Supergirl movie coming up. I honestly don't know how I feel about this. I'm still kind of shaky on the DCEU. Most of the movies I have been either underwhelming or just bad to me. Supergirl being the exception. But we'll see how Aquaman does later this year. And I'm actually kind of excited for Shazam.
I feel like I'm going to give them like 2 more movies, and then I'm just going to pretend that DC doesn't make live-action films. That they only make animated films. And my life will be better.
So what Eric is saying is that if the movies continue, I'll be seeing them by myself and reviewing them solely. Okay, thanks, Eric. Thank you. I appreciate the support.
Hey, look, if you're like, hey, look at this pile of broken beer bottles. I want to throw myself in it and roll around and then give a review of it. I'd be like, sorry, Vincent, you get to do that one on your own. I'm going to find a better way to spend my time. Because that's basically what Batman versus Superman was.
Yeah. Anyway.
Are we going to get by a single week without bashing that film?
No, and I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. I got no issue. I'm comfortable. Anyway, so moving on to our next bit of news. This will be the last news story gone before we move on to our next section. The Oscars made a huge announcement recently that they'll be adding a new category. The popular film category. So, according to an article on IndieWire.com, at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences Board of Governors meeting on Tuesday night, the 54 governors voted to add a new category to the Oscars. Per tradition, some Cinematography Academy of voters, experts in their field, voted in by their colleagues, will weigh in on the best films of the year in 24 categories covering the crafts of movie making, from cinematography to sound, as well as the 4 acting categories: directing, writing, animation, foreign language, documentary, and fiction short features. But this year there will be one more: Best Popular Film. And this is once again a news story that's causing some controversy, because some people view this new category as, well, you know those movies that everyone really loved this year? We still don't think they're best category material, so we'll give them this category to feel like they mattered. So that's how a lot of people are taking this. I don't really blame people.
I find it, again, jumping slightly ahead, I find it deeply suspicious that they made this announcement the week that Blackkklansmen came out. Like, it's like they went to an advanced screening of this and was like, man, how are we gonna not give Spike Lee an Oscar this year? Here, we'll create a separate category, because I mean, last year they were in a real predicament, with Get Out, which did get nominated for Best Picture, correct?
Yeah, I got nominated.
And did it get nominated for Best Director?
I can't remember. I don't think Jordan Peele was nominated for Best Director. I could be remembering wrong, but he did win the Academy Award for Best Screenplay. He won that Academy Award. But
that's the one that they tend to do, where they're like, oh, hey, we'll kind of appease people a little. Here's Best Screenplay. Here, we'll give you. That's like the crumbs of the Oscars. Like, not to insult screenplay writers. It's a necessary part, but that's one of those where it's kind of like, oh, here you go. We're not gonna give you Best Picture, or Best Actor, or Best Director, but you can get Best Screenplay.
Yeah. Listen, the Oscars have been losing respect for many years now. Many people see them as just Hollywood patting itself on the back. Some people say the nominations are all politically motivated, as well as the wins. Like, the wins aren't even real. From what I understand, my understanding of it, that most of the nominations are usually legit. The wins are usually motivated by the way the studios coerce the right people to vote. That's that's not confirmed. It's just what I've learned through
I'm gonna hold off, but we're gonna I think during the review session we're gonna get briefly into the history of the Oscars and some of the movies, at least one movie that has historically won an Oscar. We've discussed on the show previously that Hollywood is just Machiavellian AF. It's just one of those, hey, oh yeah, we're totally virtuous. Don't watch what we do when the cameras turn off. We're totally all about good things and stuff, and not just looking good. Please don't look at the history of things we've supported. I mean, remember that Harvey Weinstein was oh, I'm a feminist, and we know now that clearly he never was. Did I get too deep on you? Are you this is too much politics related? I don't understand.
Remember when Billy Crystal hosted the show back in the 90s? Those were good times, right? Remember that? He hosted a couple times. We were like Saints Bill, and he went on his way. Whoopi Goldberg hosted one time. It was okay. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
But he didn't say true love. He said to blave, which means clearly he was playing a game of cards, and he wanted to bluff them.
That'll be the next category. Movies that should have gotten an award but didn't. So here we go. That'll be the next category.
Oh my gosh. Can we do a like not the Oscars show the week of the Oscars? We'll come up with our own categories, like movies that should have won but didn't.
Yeah. The other thing, I believe I said to Eric when we were talking like on a text you or whatever. I told somebody this whole like popular film category, which it just sounds like a category from the MTV Movie Awards, doesn't it?
You messaged that to me. Yep.
Yeah.
No, it
just like because they have a category for best kiss or like best like badass or something like I don't know. It just seems like listen. The Academy Awards, I know sometimes they seem too elitist, but this is the Academy Awards. This is supposed to be a tippy top of the movie awards, and I understand that there's got to be some. I'm trying to find the right words to say. Some majesty to it a bit, but this is just like we get it. The Academy Awards ratings were down last year a lot. You guys are trying to recover. You're trying to like satisfy the people in some way, but you didn't know how, and you're like and you're basically this is the throw them a bone category. That's what this is. This is throw them a bone category.
I completely agree with the idea. I'm actually a big touter of that. There's a big difference between what's popular and what's actually the best or good. They're an award show. The idea of this is the best, but this is the best popular one seems like a way of belittling it because like sometimes really good movies are popular. Sometimes really bad movies are popular too, and then later we go like, oh, why did we like that thing? That was actually horrible. And I'm like trying to think of examples without just going to like everyone's favorite popular thing to make fun of Nickelback. But you know, I mean, there have been movies throughout the years where like we go back now and you kind of like, if it were 1992, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles could get nominated for Best Popular Movie category. But if it were like 2012, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles could not get nominated for Best Popular Movie category. That was one of those things where like, oh man, you could just see like Megan Fox was like, hey Michael Bay, remember how you like sexually exploited me in Bad Boys when I was 15? You're gonna give me a movie role because no one else will right now. Michael Bay was like, okay, but I'm also gonna blow things up.
Oh, Michael Bay. No, that's the one. If one year, if this category sticks around for the year after, and a Transformers film gets in on it,
what country is Michael Bay going to represent?
Michael Bay is going to represent.
I mean, if Steven Seagal is representing countries, Dennis Rodman is. Michael Bay just makes like a logical sense to represent, like, I don't know, the Ukraine. Morocco?
I don't know whichever country has the most bombs.
The moon?
Look, the Lord knows the Transformers movies has used the moon one too many damn times. If it's not a space laser on Earth, it's a space laser on the moon. Anyway.
I still can't believe there are 6 Transformer movies.
Yes, and there's another one coming with a spin-off.
Then the crazy thing about this popular like movie is then there's going to be a debate about like what qualifies as popular, and then people are going to be like you're going to have 1 year where like a Transformers movie beats out like the next Get Out.
No. No, make the bad thing go away, Eric.
Or like a DC movie could win.
Okay, that's it. We're done with the news. We're moving on.
I'm sorry for causing this pain.
Just move on. We're moving on to the next category. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going on a topic that I've wanted us to talk about for a while. It's It's something that's been talked about in movies for a very long time. And it keeps on coming up and up and up. I feel like it started to die down a little bit, but I figure why not get to it. We're going to talk about reboots and remakes. All right, I feel like
I like what you picked right here.
Yeah, for those who are just listening, like on iTunes or on the River's Edge website, we have I couldn't think of the right picture to put up for the live stream. So what we have up is a picture of the main characters from the '90s animated show Reboot, because I just couldn't think of anything, and that it made me put a smile on my face.
Which for a meta moment, even though we're in Pittsburgh and not in the capital of Machiavellian Hollywood. How long until Reboot gets rebooted?
You mean now that the sequel series failed?
What?
I just heard Eric mental. I'm not joking.
I feel like you just got vengeance back in me for what I just did to you. I feel like we just like slapped each other's nerdness a little bit. Like you basically just told me that not only is, instead of telling me that Santa Claus isn't real, you're like, oh no, Santa's real, but he's on Megan's list.
My God. Yeah, no, just a real quick little detour here. There was a sequel series to Reboot that came out earlier this year. All the 90s kids. It's called Reboot the Guardian Code. And I did not watch it because it was getting...
because you didn't want to roll around in broken beer bottles.
I didn't. Well, no, it was getting nothing but bad reviews. I hadn't heard a single person say like it. The plot was something like...
So it was like a DC live-action movie.
Yeah. We gotta watch them, Eric. We gotta review them.
Why do you hate me?
I don't hate you. I'm trying to push you to... What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, Eric.
Or it just makes you, like, really not enjoy 2.5 hours of your life.
I'm not going through it alone. You're coming with me, all right? You're not leaving me! Anyway.
I got it. This will be our Saul. Like, not watching the movie, like, living through that and having to, like, wanting to cut off your leg to leave the film.
Somebody, like, years from now, after we've been doing this movie review stuff for a while, somebody's like, that Eric Williams, he really is the worst. And I'll be like, hey, man, don't talk crap on him. He's been at my side through many a horrible film, okay? You have no idea the bond we have.
The things we've seen. You people, well, you probably believe it, but you didn't have to watch it. We had to.
We had a dedication. Anyway, so reboots and remakes. This is something that's been really irritating people, and I feel like Hollywood's finally kind of starting to pull back a little bit. Not a whole lot. But
not enough.
Yeah, because we've had some really horrible reboots and remakes just in the past several years alone. You know, we had the Fantastic Four reboot that's been called Fant4stic because of the way they drew the title.
Well, but again, there was a unique reason for all the Sony reboots. And to be clear, that's Fantastic Four and the Spider-Man movies, which, of course, got rebooted Oh, I didn't know they did. No,
that was Sony. Oh, that was Sony.
Ghostbusters, I don't think there was a specific reason. Again, with Spider-Man and Fantastic Four, it was because in their ownership of the rights, it was set up in the deal that if they didn't make a movie in X amount of years, and I think in both cases it might have been like 7 or something, then the rights reverted back to Marvel. That's why they kept cranking out subpar Spider-Man and Fantastic Four movies.
Yeah, it's amazing they cranked out the subpar movies. You know, they had huge plans for everything, especially a Spider-Man. You know, by that time Sony was working with Marvel, but when they decided, and the whole Ghostbusters thing, they were going to make a whole Ghostbusters universe. They had this thing called a separate studio as a branch off studio called the Ghost Corps or something like that.
Well, hadn't Dan Aykroyd been pushing for a Ghostbusters 3 for years, and Bill Murray was just kind of like, no.
That's basically it. Bill Murray was the holdout.
And Dan Aykroyd was like, but I don't have a career. And Bill Murray was like, I'm Bill frickin' Murray.
I'm Bill Murray. I've been known to show up at random college parties, and everybody's okay with it.
Well, there's that, but you guys know, the thing about Bill Murray, he has never had a manager or an agent in his entire career. If you want Bill Murray in a movie, in anything, I guess he has a number that you can, a voicemail box that anyone can call, but you have
1-800 I'm not doing Ghostbusters 3. Extension, shut up, Dan Aykroyd. I love how everybody does, like... I don't know. So, yeah, the Ghostbusters, like, reboots... Now, here's the thing. One of the major problems why a lot of these reboots and remakes come out poorly, because most of them come out pretty poorly. Are we agreed on this, Eric?
I mean, generally, yeah, but I want to say that normally there's a flawed idea in reboots in that producers and Hollywood execs and producers tend to pick popular franchises to reboot, and that, in my opinion, is not how it should be done. You take something that had like good elements or a good idea or like a good plot but was like poorly executed, or something that had like good visuals but a subpar plot. You take something that had flaws that could be corrected upon, not something that was near perfection or lightning in a bottle. You don't try to recreate that, you just let it be.
Indeed. Yeah, because they're just trying to make, it feels like, a money on all these. Because as you said, they have established fan bases, so they know somebody's going to come out and see this.
I don't know if you know this, but that's why people make movies. That's what Hollywood is about. Even though there's that whole Hollywood mantra that films never make money, because ultimately you're really just trying to get like people in the industry jobs because everyone's trying to make money, and it's that classic problem of like, where does the money come from? And like, unless you have like some guy with a really good counterfeiting press, someone needs to pay a lot of money and hope that it pays off.
I know.
Which is also, I just want to go on this real quick. We talked about the ScarJo casting, which clearly we were responsible for her changing her mind on the role. She watched our podcast. I actually don't think we had any effect on that, but literally the day after we talked about it on our premiere episode, she turned down she changed her mind and backed out of the role she was going to take.
Right.
But a lot of people were discussing it, and I saw a number of people that I know be like, well, the thing is that like it's art, and as an artist, yada yada. And I was like, here's the thing. If you're doing something like, we can get into weird discussions about art, but essentially, if you're doing something for not monetary benefit, like, then it's art. But if you're doing it like for the sake, then it's a job with the focus of a monetary benefit. Like, dollars are your drive. And so to be like, oh, like it's art, like, no, that's like being like, I mean, that's a job that you are doing to make money, and that is your goal. So to be like, oh, like it's for art. When money is involved, I feel like it's an invalid argument. They're like, oh, it's the art. Like, if it's really about the art, then, take, if for example, if ScarJo, which also I think was like just a great nickname, I just kept imagining her as like this weird mutant rat named ScarJo that had like a scar. I don't know. I have a weird brain, man.
A scar in the shape of the name Joe?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I completed the interview. You're welcome.
Thank you. But if she were to be like, oh, hey, I'm going to take my entire salary and I'm going to donate it to like some LGBTQ like ally group or something, like, people probably might have been like, oh, okay, because then like they're.
Eric, you got to wrap it up, man, because we got to get to the movie review soon. I hate to cut you off, but you got to wrap it up.
You're right. But you get when you can't be like, oh, artistic integrity, but look at all the dollars I'm raking in. Like, yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, anyway, I'll say this real quick. You think about movie reboots and remakes is that don't do them unless you have a legitimate reason to do them. I understand Hollywood is a business. I'm not denying that. I'm not so naive and not ignorant. But if you're not going to actually try to do something, you either have to take that original idea, make it better. If you can't make it better, okay, that's off the table. or you have to say something new with it. If you can't do either one of those, there's no point in doing it, because then you're just going to anger the fan base. You're going to, like Ghostbuster fans got angry. If you go back more years, the Willy Wonka the Chocolate Factory remake, was directed by Tim Burton. A lot of people didn't like that one. Even Gene Wilder, Willy Wonka from the original movie, said, he didn't like it. I get Tim Burton was trying to make it more closer to the book, from what I understand, but people had the general American audience goers have an idea of what Willy Wonka and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is, and that wasn't it.
You always take a huge gamble when you mess with people's nostalgia, man.
Oh yeah,
people take their nostalgia very seriously.
Even the last Scream movie acknowledged this. You don't screw with the original, or well, they said it's a little differently in there. But anyway, all right, we're gonna move on. And it's time to move on to our movie review of the week, which is a movie that has come up a couple of times earlier. We've mentioned it, but ladies and gentlemen, it's time to review Blackkklansmen, a Spike Lee joint. This movie, directed by Spike Lee, and stars John David Washington as John David Washington as Ron Stallworth, the first black police officer to the community he lives in, and he's joined by Adam Driver, and they are undercover police. Where this character Ron, he's trying to make a name for himself. He's the first black cop on this in this police force.
He's a rookie.
Yeah, he's a rookie. Yeah, he's very new, but he's eager. He's eager to move up and justice and all that stuff. And he is switched to a different department, the intelligence department, and he is able to trick a local Klansman into thinking he's a white guy. He's talking to him on the phone. He tricks him into it, and he goes undercover in their group. But the trick is, well, he's black, so there's no way they can actually meet with him. So Adam Driver poses as the real world version of him. So you got you got Ron, the character, on the phone as this white character, and then Adam Driver, when he's got to meet these people in person, is playing him. And so they have this team, the two of them, Ron and Adam Driver's character, who's forgot what his name is. Hold on, there we go, Flip Zimmerman. So you got the two characters, and it's based on a true story, apparently. Now I can only base the movie on its own merits, so we'll do the best we can. But yeah, no, this movie is very interesting. This movie definitely has it's not holding back on the message it's trying to push forward. That it's making connections between the events of that time period and the events of today, about how black people are treated in our society today, and definitely how white supremacists and white nationalists are acting today in the same way they were acting back then. This movie is just going all forward. It's not holding back. First off, I'll say this. I think the cast did a really good job. Eric, are you with me on this?
I think so. There's going to be, I think, a bunch of people maybe jumping on the train here and trying to appear woke. But I think pretty much everyone involved with this film did and I know we're not at the what's your opinion of it yet, but this was an excellently done film. The acting was fantastic. The directing was sensational. The cinematography, I loved that near the end, I don't know, without giving anything away, there was a classic Spike Lee shot. Do you know what I'm talking?
I think that's we're talking about
the rolling pulley shot.
Yeah.
That's a classic spot. But I mean, this is. I know it's only August, but
it's only August.
I mean, this film was sensational. This film should get a myriad of Oscar nods.
Whoa, Eric. The honesty, respect, man. You're not holding. Much like the movie, you're not holding back, are you, brother?
Okay. You know how? Gosh, the Spike Lee war film, blanking on the name right now. The Miracle of Santa Anna, or
I'm not familiar with the film.
So he made a war film a few years back that was basically his response to Saving Private Ryan. I think it's the Miracle at Santa Ana. I could have it wrong, but especially because he saw Saving Private Ryan, and which has the D-Day Normandy scene, which apparently was very whitewashed because I guess black battalions were like a number of the battalions that got that took the shores there, and there's not a single black guy there. So like Spike Lee was like, this is BS. I'm gonna make me a war film and be like, hey, yo, did you know that there were black people that fought in World War II? This felt like it was Spike Lee's reply to Gran Torino.
I was expecting Gran Torino to come up tonight. I'll say that. Man, that movie came out a while ago, but
it did come out like a decade ago. But like that was like Clint Eastwood's movie that was like, hey, like, you know, can't racists be charming? Like, oh, here's some cute racism. But like, it was a movie that focused on certain aspect, getting older in our society and racism, and made them very darkly humorous. And this movie, while like clearly being a drama and having like elements of thriller and suspense, was hysterical. Largely due to the levels of absurdity of the reality, much like the reality that we're currently in, where things are more like tragically hysterical. It's like a crazy unhinged reality star is the leader of the free world. Oh my God. I've got beers in the fridge for later, so we can forget this. Right. Not the movie. No. Who's in charge of the country?
Right, yeah. But yeah, the whole cast did a great job. The main character, Ron Stoller, was played by actor John David Washington. I'm not familiar with his work, but I really enjoyed his performance in here because he plays a black man who's always wanted to become a cop. He becomes a cop, right, and he's trying to do right through the system. He's trying to do it from in the system, and I like in his performance that I don't know how he talks naturally, but he's a black man of the time period. He's got the afro. He dresses like one. You know, he's proud. You know, he's proud to be a black man. But his speech pattern is more of what you would, I guess, what you would call back then.
You're just walking into a honey trap here, buddy. Like, keep going though.
No, I think it was on purpose. Like he's talking more like how white people would expect you to talk, and I think that's just him talking that way to try to fit into the police department because that's what is expected of him.
Speaking as someone whose girlfriend has a master's in English, language and the rules of language and how they've been used for oppression is like a classic motif and reality. And there becomes the terminology often used about this is how certain people speak and this is how certain people speak. But the character does make the comment in the movie. He was like, I can go back and forth fluently between the King James English and speak and jive.
Yeah, he can.
And he, I think what you're getting at is even though when he calls up the Klan in a way that was like almost slightly he starts off going undercover essentially to infiltrate a college meeting where a Black Panther activist is speaking. And he's going undercover there, and then almost immediately after that, he is transferred to the intelligence department and looks in the newspaper, sees an advertisement for the Klan, picks up the phone, and calls the Klan. And the way he speaks in that is an exaggeration of how
white people
but also I was going to say it's not quite how he normally speaks as himself, but it's not that far off. And then even later in the film, there's a scene where it gets to the point where he is talking to David Duke, played by Topher Grace, giving us
70s show,
giving us an idea of how what Eric Foreman might have become if Donna Effer left him for a black man. But he makes a statement like, and again, just a lot of absurdist humor. I was almost dark humor, not quite shock humor, but just like
exaggerate. They're definitely taking exaggerations,
but also like this is a painful reality, and that's kind of why that's funny. Like as far as the levels of racism, but there's a point where like David Duke's like, oh no, because the Ron Stallworth. Ron Stallworth says, I was on the phone with David Duke. Aren't you ever worried about a black police officer, calling you undercover?
Careful, we don't want to spoil this part of the movie. Careful now. That was a fun scene. Let's not say any more on that.
Just simply, the David Duke character makes a comment. They're like, oh, I can tell the difference on how people talk based on how they say certain words. For example, I can tell that you're white because of the way that you say "are," whereas there were a lot of. We don't have more time to, but the film was excellent. There was a lot of subtle and not so subtle commentary. A word of advisory. There are real life shocking images of violence.
Yes, there's images from an incident of many decades ago that is told by a character in the film that's representing a real life individual who witnessed a horrible act committed against a black man, and there's also imagery used of modern day events that have happened in recent memory. So if you are going to go see this film, please be aware that there is going to be some graphic real life images and stories to be told in this film. Not to scare you guys away. This is some stuff you will already know about, but just prepare yourself, because some of the images, they are, the stuff that and the one thing was, me and Eric, we remember it from the news, a year ago, and it's still disturbing to watch today.
Again, highly. You normally get to the point where you ask, but I would, again, that warning given, I would still say go see this film. This is the film that people are going to be talking about. This was about as close to perfection as I think a movie can be, especially for the moment that we are in.
Yeah, and there's also some good character development in this film. Like I said, Adam Driver, who plays Flip Zimmerman, he's the undercover partner of Ron in the film. His character goes through some development where it's like he's trying to keep this job all business.
It was great to see Kylo Ren come to the light.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Adam Driver, best known for Kylo Ren. Or unless you're a fan of, what's that show, Girls?
Oh, yeah. I think, wasn't he a boyfriend in that?
Yeah, Lena Dunham's boyfriend on the show? Yeah, he's, I don't know, I didn't watch it. I don't know. It's on HBO, isn't it?
I think it was. I think it finished. Not a fan of Lena Dunham, but we don't have time to talk about that.
Yeah.
What final thoughts on the film, Vince?
Final thoughts on the film. I'm glad we saw it. I thought it was very good. I thought the writing was good. I thought the stories it told were great, because you got the main story and then you got some stories within stories. Some of the characters' actions were, yes, like as mentioned, some of them were slightly exaggerated, just for a mocking effect, while others were just like very real, gritty in some points. Acting was good, writing was good, cinematography, as Eric mentioned, was very nice. I think this is going to be a movie that many people are going to enjoy, but I think this is going to be a movie that's going to definitely bring up some debates in our world, in American society, online, in face to face with people. So I feel like this could be a movie that we are going to be talking about again sometime in the future, as I'm sure it's going to go on to, as I said, create some debates. But yes, I would recommend you go see Blackkklansmen, and I don't mean recommend you see it on deal day, as I say with some films that are like, okay. I recommend you go see it as soon as possible. I think it was a really good film.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we saw it. So.
Both highly entertaining and poignant. And with that,
yes, we've come to the end of the episode, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, thank you for tuning in. If you want to see me do some comedy, I will be at the Brillo Box this Tuesday for Gap and S's Captain Gab show. We're going to have the shark-themed comedy and other stuff going on. Eric, is there a show you want to plug real quick? Or
Schrodinger's Variety Show, 10 p.m. on Saturday, and I'll be at the Block Party at Level Up Studio. for the Levels Up Block Party this Saturday on Penn. That's 8 to 10. You guys, it's been great.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for the River's Edge Network for hosting us. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for viewing things through our perspective. Take it easy now, all right?